Tonight on Reporting Scotland, Celtic, Rangers and Motherwell face possible fines after the use of pyrotechnics at last month's League Cup semi-finals. It's the first time any club here has faced punishment for fans' use of fireworks and flares at matches. Also in tonight's programme, an amber weather warning for the southwest tomorrow. We'll have the latest travel advice as Storm Dara makes its way here. The First Minister and the Prime Minister discuss the two-child benefit cap as they meet in Edinburgh. Police Scotland has scrapped plans that would have seen many frontline officers and staff having to shave off their beards.
And coming up in tonight's sport, bad news for Hearts on the injury front, but head coach Neil Critchley insists there's no crisis as they try to move off the bottom of the table.
Hello, I'm Sally Magnuson. Welcome to Friday's programme. It's been a long-running issue in Scottish football, adding colour to matches, sure, but risking the safety of supporters. Now, a significant step has been taken to clamp down on pyrotechnics in stadiums. It's being taken by the Scottish Professional Football League, with Celtic, Rangers and Motherwell all facing potential fines after what's described as irresponsible and unacceptable use of flares by their fans during last month's League Cup semi-finals at Hampden. A specific law banning them was brought in last year. Here's our sports news correspondent, Chris McLaughlin.
Could it be the beginning of the end for fireworks at football? The league described these scenes from the recent League Cup semi-final as large-scale, organised and illegal. Now, after years of being accused of doing nothing, they're making moves to tackle the issue. In a statement they said, there have been a number of complaints from supporters about these incidents, and the SPFL and Scottish FA have been in ongoing discussions with the clubs involved. We can now confirm that Celtic, Motherwell and Rangers have all been issued with formal notices of complaint. Each club will face a disciplinary hearing. Today, the Rangers manager had his say.
First, it's not safe. Secondly, it costs the club money. And we want to use that money in a better way. That we can do the right things with the squad, that the squad becomes better and the fans can be more happy with the squad. So, again, clear message that it doesn't help in any sense towards the team.
Celtic also held a pre-match media conference today, but the club do not invite the BBC. Asked for comment, they said the club has been clear about its opposition to the unauthorised use of pyrotechnics. Motherwell also provided a short statement saying it noted the charge and made clear to fans that using fireworks inside stadia is illegal. The governing bodies also want more action from the police and justice system in the form of arrests and banning orders. Of course, there are those who think they bring colour and atmosphere, but it is against the law. Now, after years of inaction, those who run the game are fighting back against those who bring fireworks to football.
And Chris is here now. So, Chris, what are the chances of the clubs being sanctioned?
Well, Sally, it all depends really on whether those three clubs decide to fight these charges. If they do decide to fight the charges, all they have to do is prove that they took all reasonable steps to prevent those scenes last month and subsequently to identify those involved. But if they do challenge and win, does that send out the wrong signal to those looking to take fireworks into football? If they don't contest these charges, then perhaps that acts as a deterrent. Yes, it would take those clubs taking on some kind of sanction, but you have to remember, most of these clubs, if not all of these clubs, want to see an end to pyrotechnics inside football. So whether or not those sanctions actually follow through is going to very much depend on what the clubs want to do in terms of fighting it.
To what extent is this a wider issue than just what the governing bodies are up to here?
Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts, and there have been for some time. The Scottish footballing authorities, SPFL, SFA, have been in discussions with the Scottish Government for some time, with the police. What they want is more from the police in terms of arrests. There were no arrests during those games that weekend or subsequent arrests. They want more convictions from the justice system, and what they also want is more banning orders. They want to see real teeth being bared against those who are determined to bring fireworks into football. Ultimately, what the footballing authorities are saying here is, look, we are now doing our bit. It's up to everyone else to do their bit.
Thanks very much, Chris McLaughlin. The fourth named storm of the season, Dara, is beginning to make itself felt across Scotland this evening, with yellow weather warnings in parts of the country for rain, snow and wind. Tomorrow, there's a more serious amber warning for wind centred on Dumfries and Galloway and South Ayrshire. Our reporter Gillian Sharp is in Portpatrick on the southwest coast for us tonight. What's it like there, Gillian?
Well, Sally, maybe you can see. I mean, I think this place might be familiar to many people who've come here on holiday. It's a beautiful place. Tonight, I can tell you that the weather is anything but holiday weather. There's lashing rain, the seas are very high, waves crashing, and the wind is pretty high too. Now, as you said, across Scotland today, there are yellow warnings in various parts of the country for different kinds of weather. But for people in this area, all eyes are on the prospect of that amber weather warning for wind, which comes into force in the early hours of tomorrow morning. Now, I've been out and about speaking to people in the local area. The weather had yet to really hit at this holiday park on the edge of Loch Ryan. With the structures well anchored, they say they're not expecting serious damage.
Not overly concerned. We think we're well prepared. I mean, all the vans are chained down, and so hopefully we'll be fine.
And for some, spending time here in December, this kind of weather is just to be expected.
Although it looks quite remote here and quite exposed, it seems to be a wee bit. You do get the high winds, but it is sheltered to a certain extent. Depends what way the wind blows as well. But I've never really felt it too bad. It's worse than a caravan, obviously. The walls are thinner, you can hear every bit of the wind, but the lodge is a lot better because it's more kind of secure and heavier, so it doesn't move as much.
But with the higher tiered amber weather warning comes potential problems. Police are advising people to take care.
We're anticipating sort of high levels of disruption across the areas affected, possibility of significant delays, road conditions likely to be hazardous, so I would ask motorists to take extra care, caution on their journeys, but mostly, do you need to travel, and if so, do you need to travel then, and should you delay until road conditions improve?
I think tomorrow will be the kind of the day where there will be a number of issues occurring. We may see some residual impacts into Sunday morning as well overnight as the weather warnings dissipate and clear from the Met Office. So please just take into consideration that there obviously might be issues as you're travelling, so just make sure that you are prepared in your vehicle, your mode of transport is prepared as well.
Braving the rain this afternoon on the streets of Stranraer.
We get used to the wind and the rain up here, so just take it day by day, really.
Fallen trees is a big concern.
You just go on with it. You don't really, there's not much you can do. Just hunker down and stay indoors, I suppose, don't you?
And the weather, of course, is only set to get worse. And Dumfries and Galloway Council have told us just a short while ago that they feel they're well prepared for what's to come. But we are already noticing some effects. On the rail network, there'll be speed restrictions on some lines coming from later this evening into tomorrow. On the ferries, we've seen cancellations from Cairnryan to Northern Ireland. And power supplies, we haven't seen any problems as yet, but the power companies say that they're prepared. Engineers are on standby in case there are problems. There are also flood alerts in a number of places. So really, I think the weather says stay inside.
Gillian, thank you very much indeed. Go and get dried. And we will, of course, have a detailed weather forecast later on. Now, some of the day's other stories. A man is to stand trial charged with the murder of his partner in Shetland. 40-year-old Aaron Pearson is accused of killing Claire Levesque, who was 24 and originally from Canada. He also faces a charge of attempting to defeat the ends of justice. He denies all the allegations. The trial is scheduled to start next October. A star of the TV series Outlander has been cleared of raping a woman at a hotel suite in Glasgow. Gregory Odjig had been accused of raping the 34-year-old actress in May 2021. A jury at the High Court in Stirling took less than an hour to find the charge against the 47-year-old Canadian actor not proven. The principal of Dundee University has resigned days after the institution defended a £7,000 business trip he took to Hong Kong with a colleague. The university said Professor Ian Gillespie had stood down with immediate effect. Last month, he told staff that job cuts were inevitable as the university faced a potential deficit of £30 million in the next financial year. And police are seeking the owners of a pig they say has been running loose in Caithness. The animal, which has now been captured, is described as a wild boar domestic pig cross. Some people have suggested in social media that the animal might be one of Scotland's free-roaming feral pigs. There are thought to be a few thousand of these, with most of them found in parts of the Highlands and Dumfries and Galloway. The First Minister and the Prime Minister have held what have been described as constructive and helpful talks over Scottish Government plans to shelve the two-child benefit cap. It was announced in the budget earlier this week. John Swinney and Keir Starmer met at the British-Irish Council Summit near Edinburgh. Our political correspondent David Porter was there.
Not political soulmates, but they insist pragmatic political partners when needs be. The Prime Minister and the First Minister taking part in what they call the family photo, leaders posing together for the cameras before this meeting of the British-Irish Council. Earlier, the two men held private talks. A key topic, Scottish Government plans announced this week to abolish the so-called two-child cap benefit rule. Mr Swinney believes UK ministers will not try to derail the plans.
I discussed the issue with the Prime Minister in our bilateral meeting this morning, and the Prime Minister indicated, with the specific point that for us to be able to do this, we need to have access to data which is held by the Department of Work and Pensions, and the Prime Minister indicated to me that he would work constructively with us on taking forward that commitment, which is welcome.
UK ministers question where the money will come from, but insist they want to be constructive.
Funds, as I understand it, have not yet been committed, and that's true for all of us in government. If we make a commitment, we have to fund it. If we have more to say on this in the future, we would also be asked how it was to be funded.
Other devolved administrations are watching these developments closely.
We are in a situation where, of course, we want to tackle the issue of child poverty. We do it in different ways. So, for example, in Wales, we give free school meals to all primary school children. That's not something that's offered in Scotland. So we do things differently. That's what devolution does.
The main item of the wider agenda moves towards green energy, the opportunities and the costs. Connected to this, concerns about the closure of the Grangemouth oil refinery.
I'm working constructively with the United Kingdom Government to try to find a way forward in Grangemouth. I think the closure of the refinery is premature. That's always been my view. But we need to make sure every effort is made to try to avoid that situation if we possibly can do.
And one curious coincidence to emerge today.
Pat McFadden and I shared dishwashing shifts in Viva Mexico, one of the greatest institutions in Coburn Street in Edinburgh. It just demonstrates that dynamic things can come from washing dishes 40 years ago in an Edinburgh restaurant, and our friendship has managed to sustain all those years despite our political differences.
Pot-washing teamwork aside, the UK and Scottish governments insist relations between them are better than they have been for years. David Porter, reporting Scotland, at the British-Irish Council at Dalmahoy near Edinburgh.
Police Scotland has scrapped plans that would have seen many frontline officers and staff having to shave off any facial hair. The clean-shaven policy was due to be introduced in May last year, but caused controversy, and its implementation was postponed for 12 months. Our reporter Katie Hunter has been following the story. Katie, just remind us what prompted this policy in the first place.
Well, Police Scotland say this proposed policy, Sally, has always been about health and safety. During COVID, at the height of the pandemic, some police officers had to shave so they could wear specially fitted face masks. But then last year, once the kind of peak of the pandemic was over, Police Scotland said it wanted to introduce this clean-shaven policy so that frontline officers and staff could continue to wear these specially fitted face masks when they were attending calls such as fires or chemical incidents. Now, there would have been some exemptions, for example, on religious grounds or medical grounds, but the Scottish Police Federation wasn't happy. It argued that this proposed policy, one, wasn't proportionate, and two, wasn't popular. So in July last year, Police Scotland said that it would postpone its introduction for 12 months to allow a kind of further review of the evidence. We are now 16 months on, and Police Scotland has confirmed there are no plans to introduce these changes, and that has been welcomed by the Scottish Police Federation.
Well, that's good news for our members, obviously, and this has caused a lot of controversy, but the reality is it was a foolish policy in the first place, the way it was tried to be introduced under equality, and it's very it was a bit of a disaster, to be honest.
And Police Scotland have had to pay out for this, haven't they?
They have, Sally. 4 police officers, we understand they were traffic officers, took legal action on discrimination grounds after being ordered to shave. Now, their cases were heading for employment tribunals, but then Police Scotland paid out a combined total of £60,000 to those 4 officers. So this has been somewhat of a costly proposed policy for Police Scotland, and a policy that it says it no longer has any plans to introduce.
Katie Hunter, thank you very much indeed. Tonight's main news again. Celtic, Rangers and Motherwell face possible fines after the use of pyrotechnics at last month's League Cup semi-finals.
Still to come in the sport, a big weekend of rugby as Scotland's 2 professional sides launch their European campaigns.
Council leaders have given a guarded welcome to Wednesday's budget. The Scottish Government argues that it's offering councils an extra £1 billion and says it's hoping that large council tax rises will not be needed. Well, let's get more on this with our news correspondent, Jamie McIver. Jamie, what more did COSLA say?
Well, Sally, council leaders from across Scotland discussed the budget for several hours today, and what I would say is that COSLA's reaction is a guarded welcome. They say they're pleased there's no council tax freeze this year, no limit on how much a council may choose to put the council tax up by. COSLA also says it welcomes the extra Scottish Government money, that extra £1 billion you mentioned, but it also says it'll take more than a year for council finances to be restored. But there are some caveats though. COSLA wants councils to have more flexibility over just how some Scottish Government money is spent, and it also says it would be unacceptable for councils to have to meet the cost of the rise in employers' national insurance contributions. Overall, though, I'd say the tone of today is significant. It's very different to the tone a year ago when you'll remember there was a row between councils and the Scottish Government over the unexpected council tax freeze. This time round, the tone is much more constructive, even if councils do have some genuine reservations, and ideally they would still like more money. On the whole, I'd say it looks tonight that a major row between councils and the Scottish Government over money has been avoided.
And when are we going to find out the extent of any, presumably inevitable, council tax rises?
inevitable, but I'd say we need to look at what the rises are going to be like. It's going to be for each of Scotland's 32 councils to decide how much to put the council tax up by. These decisions will generally come in February. For the moment, though, they're going to be poring over the details ahead of setting their own budgets, working out just how much they will actually have in practice, how much flexibility they're going to have over how they spend that money. As I say, poring over the details. Any rises, they take effect from April.
Jamie McIver, thank you very much indeed. Let's get tonight's sport now with Lewis. What you got for us?
Oh, a wee bit of football, a wee bit of rugby, a wee bit of golf as well, Sally. Thanks very much. Hello there, yeah, so it could be a busy January transfer window for Hearts boss Neil Critchley, who has revealed that defender Stephen Kingsley might miss the rest of the season and will have to undergo an operation on a hamstring injury picked up in Sunday's draw with Aberdeen. It's a blow to the Tynecastle boss, who says he'll try to strengthen his defence when the winter window opens, and when you add that to the current state of things in the Premiership table, it's not looking good. But the manager is adamant there's no crisis.
Oh, no. Like, we're not even halfway through the season. You like to use those words, and it's crisis, and no. Like, I'm just focusing on the next game. I think since we've joined the club in the past, say, 2 months, we've had improvement in terms of our performances. And now we've got a period of games coming up that we need to start putting some W's on the board.
Rangers midfielder Nico Raskan says a change in diet and the resulting weight loss has helped him turn around his form this season. The Belgian has endured a number of injuries in his time at the club, but believes a shift in approach has led to better performances. But the midfielder still expects a tough test away to Ross County on Sunday.
I think a bit about it, and I thought maybe I gained a bit too much weight, like too powerful. So I just work on my weight and trying to put him low to be lighter and to avoid all those small injuries. And yeah, it works good for me, so I just continue with that. I took a chef to prepare me some meal at home, so I can eat good in the evening. I can follow my weight every day. So yeah, I'm trying to make some extra to get back to my best form, and it works good for me right now, so I just continue.
The Aberdeen manager Jimmy Tilleen says backup goalkeeper Ross Doohan has done really well in the 1.5 games he's played since Dimitar Mitov suffered a hamstring injury. Doohan will be between the sticks again for the visit of St Johnstone, days after facing former club Celtic at Pittodrie. The 26-year-old couldn't save the Dons from defeat on Wednesday, but did make some impressive stops, and he's eager to make the most of this 6-week stint to stake a claim for the position longer term.
We're a good group, we support each other, who's playing, who's on the bench. It's just life as a goalkeeper, sometimes there's only one position to play, so now I've got the chance to go and show what I can do.
I mean, do you feel you've got maybe a point to prove to people?
Obviously not many people maybe seen me play, but I believe in myself in that, and then I've been working hard on the training pitch, so I just need to believe in myself, and I'm just looking forward to the games ahead.
And it's a big weekend for Scotland's 2 professional rugby sides as they launch their European campaigns. Glasgow Warriors host the Sale Sharks in the Champions Cup pool stage tomorrow night. Edinburgh visit Gloucester tonight in the Challenge Cup. Captain Sione Tuipulotu is one of several Scotland players returning to Glasgow's starting 15. Head coach Franco Smith wants a positive start against the team placed 6th in the English Premiership.
It's massive. Obviously, every time you play a team that you're not used to seeing playing that often in your environment or in your competition, makes it a different challenge. So they've got a huge pack of forwards. They've got some good line speed on the defence. They've got a good kicking game and a bunch of physical players on both sides of the ball. So it's going to be a big challenge now.
Now it's over to Laura Miller to find out what's happening on BBC Scotland at 7 o'clock.
Hello, coming up tonight, we're looking at the developing situation in Syria. Tonight, tens of thousands are fleeing the city of Homs as rebel fighters close in with the aim of overthrowing the president. What does it mean for the country and the wider region? Also tonight, we'll get reaction from the Scottish Football Supporters Association to that prospect of fines facing some clubs here after the use of pyrotechnics. And we'll hear how heart disease could soon be detected earlier in dogs, giving owners longer with their precious pets. Switch over at 7.
For now, it's the weather, and despite that tranquil beauty in Shetland.
I've got two pictures here, but the one in Shetland, I thought it was interesting because Shetland, we've got the storm coming, of course, Sally, and Shetland's going to be one of the winners in all this because the storm is really not going to affect them very much at all.
Go on, socket twos with the worst.
Yeah, I will do. This was the picture for most of us first thing this morning, a lot of dry, sunny weather, but it seems like a distant memory, doesn't it? Because Storm Dara is already making landfall across the UK, bringing with it a multitude of weather hazards. Now, the main focus of the really dangerous weather, if you like, is south of the border with red warnings in force, but we'll still see our fair share of hazards. So what is happening? Let's take a wee overview of what's going on. Well, first of all, we have Storm Dara coming our way, disruptive weather without a doubt. Met Office warnings are in force. Significant upland snow over Perthshire and the Southern Highlands, and also some high winds to factor in with heavy rain too. So let me take you through the warnings, or some of them anyway, for the time being. We have a high wind warning for southern Scotland. That's with us right through until Sunday because Storm Dara is not going anywhere fast. Then we have a heavy rain warning through central, southern and eastern Scotland till midday tomorrow, and all the associated hazards with heavy rain. And then we have a snow warning for the high ground of northern Scotland, Southern Highlands, Perthshire. Some really tricky conditions with driving rain on those routes like the A82, the A9, where they go into any elevation. So as far as tonight is concerned, here is that rain and high ground snow already packing a punch across Scotland, are really wet and it's windy as well. And if you do run into the snow across northern half of Scotland, it'll be treacherous conditions on those higher routes, some really difficult conditions, very unpleasant indeed, and the winds ramping up all the while as we head through the course of this evening and tonight. And in fact, that rain and high ground snow going nowhere fast. But in saying that, as I said, the Northern Isles not looking too bad. Lighter winds here in Shetland, only seeing some showers tonight. Now, as we head into the latter part of the night, winds really ramp up, and there is an amber warning for southwest Scotland. Coastal areas valid from 1 a.m. through until 9 p.m. tomorrow night. We could see gusts in excess of 80 miles per hour. So here is the picture first thing tomorrow. Widely we'll see gales, severe gales for coastal areas. A couple of other warnings in force now with heavy rain for the borders for tomorrow, and a high wind warning for eastern coastal areas as the transference of those stronger winds, the core of those winds transfer across to eastern Scotland. But windy everywhere. We still have that rain. It does start to ease, becoming more confined to northern and eastern Scotland. Something brighter coming in, but very cold. We've got cold air tucking in behind that low pressure system, so it will feel bitterly cold across all parts. Now, much better day to actually come on Sunday. It's still a windy day, but much more in the way of sunshine and much drier as well. That's your forecast.
Thanks very much indeed, Joseph. Ben Phillip will be here with your late news at around 10:30 tonight. But from everyone in the team, do enjoy your evening and keep safe. Bye-bye.